New Zealand's 30 square meter building consent exemption is hands down one of the best rules ever introduced for property owners. It gives you the freedom to bypass the red tape, save thousands of dollars in council fees, and build a beautiful, functional space at your own pace. Whether you need a quiet home office, an art studio, a sleepout for your teenager, or a comfortable space for your parents to stay close by, while sharing your main home kitchen and bathroom, this rule makes it incredibly easy. But there is a catch. Because this exemption gives you so much freedom, some council officers can act like traffic police, actively looking for any tiny slip up to catch you out. If you understand the exact conditions and comply with them, you're completely bulletproof. But if you step even slightly outside the boundaries, you could end up in court facing thousands of dollars in fines, just like a couple in Temata did recently. Before we dive into the rules, a quick disclaimer. Just like the official guidance from the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment and Brands, this video is a guide only. It is based on official MBIE publications, but it does not substitute for legislation or professional legal and building advice. Neither I nor my channel are responsible for the results of any actions taken based on this information. If in doubt, consult your local council before starting your build. Now let's look at how you can use this rule to your advantage, legally and safely. Let's focus on the positives first. Why is this exemption such a game changer? First, you save massive amounts of time and money. Applying for a building consent can take months and cost thousands of dollars in council fees, engineer reports, and administrative headaches. Under Exemption 3A in Schedule 1 of the Building Act, you bypass all of that. And the Exemption 3A is the specific exemption we are talking about today. There are other exemptions as well, which are not the topic of this video. Second, is 100% DIY friendly. Unlike other exemptions that require a licensed building practitioner or a chartered professional engineer to design or supervise the build, Exemption 3A allows you to do it yourself. As long as you use lightweight materials and follow the design rules, you don't need an LBP. This means you can enjoy the building process as a weekend project on your own terms. But here is a very important point. Just because you're legally allowed to design and build it yourself, it doesn't mean you should overstep your own level of competency. Building a structurally sound cabin requires practical skill and precision. If you don't feel confident or experienced enough to tackle the construction yourself, please make sure to hire a qualified carpenter or builder to handle the project for you. It's always better to invest in good craftsmanship than to end up with structural issues down the line. And just beware, if you end up with a structure that doesn't comply with the building code, you as the homeowner are legally liable for any outcome. With that in mind, it is the ideal setup for multi-generational living. If you have elderly parents or adult kids, they can live in their own private 30 square meter sanctuary as long as they share the main house's kitchen and bathroom facilities. However, please make sure you don't confuse this 30 square meter rule with the granny flat exemption rule. The granny flat exemption is a completely different rule with its own strict terms and conditions, allowing standalone dwelling up to 70 square meters, but requiring licensed building practitioner, mandatory council notification, infrastructure checks, and in most cases, massive development contribution fee. That is a whole different topic and is not what we are talking about in this video. Today, we are strictly focusing on the up to 30 square meter lightweight cabin rule under Exemption 3A. Now, you might be thinking, what if I build this as a dry slip out today, but I want to add a toilet or a shower in a few years? According to official brand guidance, this is where your choice of foundation becomes incredibly important. If you build on a concrete slab, you're locked in. If you want to add plumbing later, you have to jackhammer the concrete, which is a structural nightmare. But if you build using a suspended timber floor on piles, which is exactly how our plans are designed, you completely future-proof your building. If you want to keep the build cheap, fast, and consent-free today, you build it as a dry cabin. No pipe, no sinks. But if you need change down the track, you can choose to add sanitary plumbing later. All you have to do is apply to the council for a standard building consent for the plumbing and drainage work. Because the cabin is built on piles, your plumber will have easy access underneath to run all the pipes, saving you thousands of dollars in retrofitting costs. The golden rule here is simple. Don't hook up any pipes, toilets, or water inside the cabin until that plumbing consent is fully approved by the council. Keep it dry initially, and you stay completely within the exemption rules. If you're tempted to ignore the rules and just put in a kitchen or a toilet without telling the council, you need to hear about Stephen and Tracy. A couple of years ago, they wanted to build a home for their son and his young family on an exposed hilltop in Temata. To keep it legal and consent-free, they started by putting up 2 separate timber pods, spaced 5 meters apart. When the Waikato District Council inspector first drove past, everything complied with the rules. But then scope creep took over. Within 5 months, they joined the 2 pods together with a middle section, laid concrete foundations, ran plumbing, built a kitchen, and put in an unconsented septic tank. Essentially, they turned 2 exempt Sleepout into 1 unconsented, self-contained house. A council inspector drove past, noticed the changes, and began building a prosecution case. When the inspector went inside, they found the family living there, with food on the bench, unmade bed, and photos on the fridge. The couple ended up in the Hamilton District Court. They argued they had an honest, mistaken belief that what they were doing was compliant, but the judge rejected this, stating that intentionally joining 2 pods to build a self-contained house with plumbing is a far cry from a misunderstanding. The couple was convicted under the Building Act and fined $13.5 grand. This is exactly why some people feel like council officers act like police officers waiting to catch you out. But the truth is, this couple gave the council a reason to prosecute them. If they simply kept the pods separate, left out the unconsented plumbing, and stayed within the exemption guidelines, they would have had a beautiful legal setup with 0 fines. So to make sure you never give the council a single reason to knock on your door, here is your compliance checklist. 1, size. The net floor area must be a maximum of 30 square meters, measured strictly to the inside face of the walls. 2, height. The cabin must be single-story. The floor level must be no more than 1 meter off the ground, and the roof apex must be no more than 3.5 meters above the floor level. 3, materials. It must be built with lightweight materials, so timber or light steel framing, lightweight cladding, and a metal roof to comply with B1 AS1 standards. Number 4, being detached and setbacks. The building must be detached, so completely standalone. Under the Building Act, it must be located at least 1 meter away from any legal boundary and any other building on the property. But here is a massive catch. If your local council district plan requires a larger setback for your specific zone, for example, a 3 meter or 5 meter yard setback in a rural or residential zone, their district plan rules overrule the 1 meter building exemption rule. This means you must comply with the council's wider setback rules, or you will need a resource consent. Number 5, no plumbing or cooking. Until you get a consent, there can be no toilet, showers, bathing, piped water, or cooking facilities inside the cabin. Number 6, smoke alarm. If the cabin is intended to be used for sleeping accommodation, you must have smoke alarms installed. These should be interconnected with the smoke alarms in the main dwelling, so you're alerted immediately in a fire. Number 7, stormwater management. You must consider the building code requirements regarding the disposal of stormwater from the roof of your building. You should seek professional guidance for this. Crucially, all new drains must be laid by an authorized drain layer. Number 8, on-site wastewater system. If your main house discharges to an on-site wastewater disposal system, like a septic tank, you need to check that your existing system has the capacity to handle the extra people using the Sleepout. Even though the Sleepout itself doesn't have any bathroom or kitchen facilities, the extra people will increase the load on the septic tank. And number 9, location of underground services. Before you dig, you must confirm the location of any underground services. Check with your local council and, if needed, a surveying company to ensure you're not building over existing below ground services such as drains, electricity, gas, or telecommunications. You can find out all these rules and more in the building government website. Now I want to be completely transparent about how I operate and where my services fit into your build. I used to provide LBP design services and offer complete building consent packages to my clients. But after doing this for so many years and getting frustrated every single time, answering the nonsense RFIs from different city council offices, I realized this is not what I want to keep doing. So at the moment, I strictly do not offer any LBP services, and my plans are strictly sold under Exemption 3A. This means that the plans do not come with a design memorandum or a certificate of work, and that is exactly why I sell them at such a low price. If you wish to apply for a full building consent for them right away, I'm afraid my plans are not suitable for you, and you will need to find an LBP designer to design and provide a certificate of work for you. However, if you decide to add a sanitary fixture in the future, like a bathroom or a kitchenette, you would only need to apply for a building consent for that specific plumbing and drainage work when the time comes. For that, you will just need to work with a certifying plumber and drain layer who will carry out the work, sign it off, and help you submit that plumbing consent to the council. This means that you're only paying for the consent and inspections for the plumbing work, rather than paying for building consent and inspection for the entire building. I understand my services cannot satisfy everyone on the market, and some people might want to do things differently. That is completely okay with me. I'm not here to provide a service for every single requirement out there. I'm here to offer high quality, practical, and compliant plans for people who want to make the most out of this fantastic building exemption. Building a 30 square meter cabin is one of the most rewarding, cost-effective, and enjoyable DIY projects you can undertake in New Zealand. By keeping it simple, keeping it dry, and following a fully compliant plan, you get all the extra space you need without any of the council headaches. So if you're ready to start your build, check out our selection of plans because they're designed in different sizes and materials and they are fully compliant with the building codes. Click the link in the description below to find the perfect design for your property. Now, because I list and manage these listings manually, if you click the link and don't see any active listings, please don't worry. It just means a listing has recently expired while I'm away from my office. Please check back in a few days and they'll be active again. Thank you very much for watching. Keep your bills safe and legal, and I see you in the next video.